When winter arrived, it wasn't a cozy season for the people of medieval times. There was no fireplace coffee, no comfy sweaters, and definitely no electric heaters. For them, winter meant a terrifying test, a season where only those survived who were prepared and whose luck didn't betray them. Poor people only had two things: hope and wool. Before the cold truly settled in, people would spend hours chopping wood, stacking it in piles to be burned night after night. Every house had a central fire pit where a fire burned, and the entire family would gather around it to get through the night. But the problem was, not everyone had enough wood. Some people had just enough to last a few days. After that, they either relied on shelter from neighbors or hid inside old barns, sleeping between piles of hay for warmth. Clothing wasn't guaranteed either. Wool was the most valuable and necessary fabric. People sheared sheep in summer, cleaned the wool, spun it by hand, and wove it into clothes. Making just one woolen coat took time and effort. The poor wrapped themselves in scraps of wool to sleep through the nights. Mothers prayed their children would sleep soundly and not fall ill from the cold. Outside, snow fell, nights stretched longer, and even if the sun came out during the day, it gave off a pale, bitter light. In remote villages especially, winter isolated people from the rest of the world. Roads were blocked, trees were buried under snow, and contact between neighbors became rare. Every household relied on stored food: dry bread, cheese, smoked meat, pickled vegetables. Those who had nothing would break old floorboards to make fire, surviving for 3 days on water and hope. With cold came sickness. The wind brought flu, chest infections, and pneumonia. Doctors were out of reach for most. People relied on herbal remedies, a few leaves in hot water, sipped slowly. If someone repeatedly fell ill, neighbors whispered, "Something evil has cursed their house." Candles were lit, prayers recited, and sometimes a priest was called to purify the space. Winter wasn't just a physical battle, it was mental. Outside, nothing moved: no work, no farming, no markets. Everyone stayed indoors. It was the season of patience. People told stories, passed down folk tales, and sometimes sat under a single blanket to hum old songs. It was when grandfathers told tales of war to their grandchildren, mothers taught weaving to their daughters, and young men silently planned their future. If I survive this, I'll... Getting bread was a challenge. Grain was ground and stored during summer. The more hard-working families kept enough, but towards the end of winter, everyone had to start rationing. Bread slices were halved, soups thinned. Children went to bed hungry without complaint. Parents silently cried in the corners of their cold homes. The only thing more important than food or fire was each other. If someone noticed there was no smoke coming from a chimney, they assumed trouble. Maybe firewood had run out, or someone had fallen ill. People would share what little they had: a few sticks of firewood here, a seat by the fire there. No one flaunted ego. Survival demanded humanity. On days when snow piled up 3 feet high, the idea of traveling to another town felt like a dream. Keeping animals alive was also crucial. Cows, sheep, and horses were kept in tight, closed spaces to stay warm. Old blankets were used to cover them. If even one animal died, an entire family could fall into hardship. People became desperate. They sold jewelry or belongings to get food or fuel. The marketplace opened for just a few days when snow cleared slightly, and people traded grain, sold wool, or bartered worn weapons for copper coins. Winter was a silent war. There were no swords, no enemies, just a slow, creeping force that tried to break the spirit, and each person, in their corner of the frozen world, wanted only one thing: to live and to see the season end. When the 3rd month of winter arrived, the smiles had faded from people's faces. By then, winter wasn't just a season. It was a test of willpower, patience, and often silent suffering. Clothes were dirty, firewood nearly gone, and the stored food had begun to smell strange. But the most frightening question on everyone's mind was, when will it end? People started counting the days. Each morning they'd check how long the sunlight lasted, hoping it stayed a little longer than the day before. Every time snow fell again, they'd whisper, "Maybe this is the last one." But the next night the wind would howl again, and the white blanket would cover everything once more. The smoke from fireplaces stung their eyes, but that smoke was life. Inside, households had grown tense. The same faces, the same food, the same stories. Some people began to mentally break down. That's when little rituals were created. Families would gather around, pass around a bit of honey or dried fruit, light a small candle, and say, "With this light may hope return." These small acts helped people hold on to themselves. Children needed the most care. Their immune systems were weak, and when they fell sick, there wasn't much to offer beyond a warm soup or an herbal drink. Mothers stayed awake all night, wrapping their children's feet in cloth, humming soft lullabies to distract them from the pain. And when a child passed away in a house, the entire village mourned. Everyone knew they could be next. The elders understood winter better than anyone. They'd say, "This season doesn't hate us. It simply tests us." In this time, people reflected on their mistakes. Should we have stored more grain, gathered more wood, repaired the roof earlier? These thoughts echoed in every home. Those who were strong helped the weak. Some would quietly leave a small pile of firewood in a neighbor's yard at night. No names were spoken, no thanks expected. In survival, there was no pride, only humanity. As the final stretch of winter crept in, people began to feel a shift. It was small at first. The nights weren't quite as long, the wind slightly less biting, and one afternoon, the sun lingered in the sky just a bit longer. That day, faces softened, a kind of light returned to their eyes. They began cleaning storage rooms, polishing old utensils, and hanging clothes in the rare daylight. It wasn't a celebration, it was preparation for the return of life. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it. Maybe we've made it through. Animals felt the change too. Horses snorted louder, sheep stirred more often, and hens began laying eggs again. Nature was waking up. Farmers checked their plows, inspected the land beneath the snow, hoping to find life. But winter didn't just change the weather. It changed people. It took some lives and left others stronger. When spring arrived, people didn't just celebrate the season. They celebrated survival. A new sun, a new chance. They made plans again. They built tools, patched roofs, and either forgot their wounds or carried them with pride. Sometimes a young boy or girl, someone who had just survived their first winter, would secretly write in a diary. They'd pour out everything they felt, the hunger, the fear, the silence, the hope. Some of those diaries are still found in the ruins of old castles and villages. In one, someone had written, "The snow was falling, but the fear inside me was colder than the snow. Then one day, I woke up, and the sun had returned." In the end, it wouldn't be wrong to say that people in the Middle Ages didn't fear winter, they simply fought it. Every year was a new war, and each time it left behind a new story, and that story only lived on through those who did too.